All right. I am completely unplanned for this video, but that's kind of how I want these series to be like. Um, so what am I going to be working on today? Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. I kind of wanted to maybe work a little bit on the design. Let me just get things a bit organized here. But yeah, I just want to do this thing where every morning I just jump online, start streaming, and see what happens because I feel like I'm getting a little bit out of touch with streaming. I'm getting worse at it. And so this is kind of a good way to do that. I'm just trying to find this on my Miro board. I think this is it. Yeah, all right, there we go. So where we left off, we were able to create a goal. It'll be easy to set it up to view a goal. Later on down the line, I need to figure out how to do multi-tenanting. I think that's how I'm going to handle basically user data. So now let's look for a Kanban bolt here. We'll set up like a to-do list. So maybe like a dashboard design. We need to get that done. So figuring out user-owned data, we need to get that done. We need to do the calendar. Another thing I want to do is make it so that figure out basically how I'm going to split everything up. And also want to do it in such a way that we can easily swap out the backend. So create composables for dealing with models. And we might leave it at that for now. All right, so for this dashboard design, what are we going to do? This is the kind of stuff where I get a little bit stuck sometimes. And maybe it's better to do this in code rather than doing it in Miro. All right, let's do that and see what happens. What do we call this? Goal setting? Yep. Open that in code. We can jump out of that now and then run yarn dev on here. Now I don't have a yarn, to jump in the front. Yarn dev. I have to admit, one thing that I kind of struggle with Strapi is it's very difficult to understand what is available to you with the API. I haven't found a good section in the documentation. So there doesn't seem to be a this is what the API looks like section. Maybe this is my fault. Maybe I just don't understand the backend framework well enough. But as I get to know it a little bit better, I can get a little, get better at this. All right, so here's our quasar.conf file. Why is it still opening up? Under dev server, I want open equal to false. I hate that. Let's save that, close this out, close that out. It's just taking a while to reload now. I'm surprised open is a default. And now we're on yarn dev. And then when this is done, it should not open the browser. Yeah, the reason I hate it is, you often end up in a situation where you're closing the browser out, you're opening it up again. And it's just frustrating. Not the browser, sorry, the server, and opening it up again. It's just frustrating when it keeps opening up in the browser. Okay, so now let's go to the dashboard. And there's one thing I forgot to do before related to view auth. We're going to come in here. We'll call this script setup. And I want to say authenticate routes. So let's import. I think it's authenticate routes or something like that. Okay. There's a way we can do this at view auth / Quasar app extension. No, maybe it's not in there. No, it would be Quasar UI. Dash view. Oh my goodness, I can't actually remember. Quasar app extension. So that should be Quasar UI auth. All right, here we go. And then there's something called Authenticate Routes or something. Yeah, Authenticate Routes. There we go. So I want to pluck that out of there and then call that. And it just means if I'm not authenticated and I land on the landing page, it's not going to show me this page here. So then we can say Authenticate Routes and run that. Cool. So that worked. If I try to go to the dashboard, it says no because I'm not logged in. Look at, I think it was example.com. We need to start our Strapi server up. So let's jump into back. What's going on there? Let's run it again. And then we'll say yarn develop so that we're developing with Strapi. Looks like that's running now. Ah. All right, looks like I am logged in now. Okay, so what's this going to look like? So I'm imagining, for starters, let's just make it so that it displays all of our goals. So we'll go to the dashboard, use a dashboard, and I want to have a component for displaying all of the goals. So let's go into source, components, and I'm going to organize it like this, I think. We'll have maybe goal like that with a capital G. No, we'll go lowercase for folders because I think it otherwise messes up with some people's computers on Windows. I don't actually understand that problem. But inside of this folder, we'll have, let's have the goal form. I can probably call this form. No, I like to use the full word. Goal form makes it easier to find. Dot view. Well, we've already got that, so we can just drag that directly in there. And another thing we'll have is the maybe create goal dialog and update goal dialog. Create goal dialog dot view, and then we'll have update goal dialog dot view. Look, to be honest, actually, I don't think we need these components. I'd rather just do those directly since there's very little styling around them. So I can just use Quasar's components and just kind of inject this directly in there. But we'll have a goal card dot view. Yeah. And then this can be a queue card component. And then props is equal to, we might not even say, have to say const props there. We might be able to just say define props because I don't think we'll need access to it in that way. We'll find out in a moment. Goal required true type is equal to an object, so we can pass our goals directly through there. And for now, let's just spit out the title. So we'll have a queue card section, which will be goal, it's goal.goal. So we have a goal card, and I just want to display all of those on the home page. So let's jump back into the dashboard. And what I'm going to do with this code? Well, we want to put that in a dialog. So how about we just go ahead and do that now? We'll say q-dialog. I don't know if I'm going to extract this further. Still on the fence about this. And then we'll const goal dialog is equal to a ref, which will be false by default. And then we'll just model that here. Specifically, that is a create goal dialog. All right, I'm happy with that. What's this squawking about? Goal form is no longer found, and that makes sense because we've now nested it inside of goal. There we go. So now we'll just create a button that opens that dialog, and I might just make it a floating action button. Actually, that might work really nicely. Q-form oh, what is this called? Page sticky. Page sticky position is equal to, I believe it's bottom right. Let's try that. There we go. That's showing the bottom right. And then we'll say offset is equal to 1212. Yeah, maybe a little bit more. Let's say 2222, and then we'll have a button there. Q-button, and I'll set the color equal to accent, and this is going to be for creating a goal. So how about we come in here and give it an icon equal to MDI, and I'm not using MDI, just add. Yeah, that looks good. Round, size is equal to large maybe. Let's try that. Yeah, I think that looks good. And that's going to be our create goal button. So then we can say @click is equal to, here it is, create goal dialog. You know what? We don't actually need this. This is something I discovered recently when I really thought about it. We don't need to model anything there. We can just say ref is equal to create goal dialog. Maybe add the word component just to be super, so it's really obvious what that is. And then we can just say refs.createGoalDialogComponent.show. I don't even need to put in the parentheses there, I don't think. Okay, so we don't need ref anymore. Let's give that a try and see if it works. All right, there's something it doesn't like. Reading show, really? Oh, okay. I did have to put the parentheses in there. And there we go. Now that just shows up. So this isn't displaying very nicely though. So what I like to do is, where's that part that says title? Where'd that come from? Is that in the goal form? Ew. Okay, that definitely does not belong there. Definitely does not belong in the form. But now I like to have a toolbar up there. So let's come in here and say Q toolbar. And I think I'm going to end up making a base component for dialogues because this is going to get a bit overwhelming. Let me just have some of my coffee. Creating these dialogues over and over again. Then we can just say Q toolbar title and set that equal to create. What are we creating? A goal. So that worked. We want a close button. So we'll come down here and say Q button icon is equal to, is it a cross or close? I don't know. Let's try that. Yeah, there we go. Got it in one. That's going to be round. And then v-close pop-up, which means it's going to close the pop-up. Yep, very nice. And of course, we want that to be flat as well. Next thing I want to do is fix these scroll bars and then fix that create button onto the bottom. I think that's a much nicer experience. So what I do to achieve that is wrap this inside of a div. Maybe we'll use a QScroll area. I don't usually do that. But how about we do that in this example? And we're probably going to need a height on that as well. So let's say that the style is equal to height. And this is where I use calc, or at least max height. That would make more sense. Max height. And then we can say, hey, calculate 100 view height. And then I just sort of figure out a number to subtract, like maybe 150 pixels. Let's try that. No, that blatantly did not work. So let's try changing that to a div. This is what I usually do. And class is equal to scroll. Whoops, that should be height. All right, this stuff never works. Oh, I thought I just fixed that. This is either user error or there's something wrong with my keyboard. Yeah, there we go. This is kind of cool because it means that create button sticks down there. And I like to have that kind of scrolling down the center. And now what we can do is set a background color here. Background, I don't know, primary. It's always best just to go with primary when you don't know. And then of course we'll then need a text white there to make that look better. Yeah, I think this is my favorite way to do forms. I think this looks really nice. Yeah, the form itself, not so nice. I think there's a little bit that we can do to make this experience nicer, which we will do with the calendar and the color picker, but the rest of it looks really good. Cool. All right, so we can create a goal. The next thing to do is make it so that when that has been created, the dialog closes. So in that case, we've got the ref here, so we will latch onto that. And I'll say, whoops, const create goal is equal to an empty ref. Now, well, is it still going to attach itself to $refs? Yeah, it looks like it does. Okay, so next we want to say we'll need a function now for creating a goal. So let's say function create goal here. And now instead of using the service like so, we say create goal. So we're doing something more manual so that I can close the dialog. This is going to be asynchronous. And then we can say create $service.create. We'll await that. And then we'll grab our dialog. There it is there. And we'll say .hide to hide that dialog. So now I can throw this up here. And this is looking like it needs to be extracted into its own file, which I'll almost certainly do here. Yeah. Okay. So now let's enter some data, create, and it looks like it's creating so quickly that, oh, we do also need to check for errors as well. So have we got something like that on our create goal service? Some sort of error checking, we get data back. No, so we'll have to do that at some point. Maybe I should do that now. Let's say const error. What do we get back here with data? So usually I have errors and then I have validation errors. So if I get a response that has validation errors, I set validation errors. Otherwise, I just say, straight out whatever the error text is. But I might just do error for now and just get the message of the error. And I always forget how to do this properly, but we'll figure it out together. So that's going to be an empty string by default. So let's come down here, and now we've got error available. And I want to be able to deal with an error case here. And I might actually bring in view users fetch composable. Just going to sip my coffee. Yeah, I think we will do that actually. View use. I think my keyboard might be running out of battery or something because getting that sort of mistyping happening a lot. All right, so specifically I'm looking for fetch. They've got a really, really cool composable for working with fetch. I just need to remember how to use it. Sometimes it's a bit hard to remember how to use it because it's built in a way where it's really beautifully flexible. Yeah, the way I like to do this, I think, is this way. Oh, cool. They got these events there, which makes it really, really easy to play around with. All right, so I'm thinking we'll use this example here that's probably going to suit our use case the most. Yeah, okay, and I'll create a separate composable for that. So let's come in here. Yeah. Models. And we'll call this, we'll have it in here called fetch, I think, or backend API maybe. API. Yeah, I don't know yet, so I'm actually going to leave this flat for now. So let's say use API, and we'll extract this a little bit further later on. But for now, let's just say use API. Why did that paste twice? Oh, weird. So we're going to have our own fetcher here. And we might have to go full screen. I need to wrap my head around what I'm doing here. So currently, so let's change that from use API to use GraphQL. GraphQL API, like that maybe. Yeah, okay, let's go with that. I'm just kind of playing here. I don't really know what this is going to look like. So then use GraphQL API, and then we can come in here and just whack that in as a base URL. This is going to make it a lot more reusable. This is going to have to be exported, export default. Yeah, that is there. Then we've got before fetch. We're setting the token. Yeah, all right. So we can get the token this way. So now I can extract all that logic out, which would be really nice. Say token repo. My token is equal to, we can just steal this code here. We go, instead of my token, we'll just call it token. And then we need create fetch. So let's say create fetch here. We should be able to import that. Yep. And that needs to be imported. Use local storage token repo. Let's grab that out of there. And I think that's exactly what we're doing. Yeah, we're just setting an authorization header. And we also want a content type header. Actually, is there a better way to do this? Maybe we can just create it straight up. Hang on. Okay, by default, it's got immediate set to true, so you have to set that to false. So you can say use fetch URL, and then you've got options. I would imagine that the fetch options themselves is part of that. Use fetch before fetch, and it probably tells us up here. No. Type declarations, here we go. Yeah, there we go. We've got options here. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Man. Actually, maybe they've got one for GraphQL. No, they don't. All right, let's just have a play with this. I'm doing too much looking around. Let's just say const fetcher is equal to use fetch like this, and then we'll give it as the first parameter the URL, and then as the second parameter, we'll send in our options. Can I set headers in here? No, I'm not getting any type hinting for that. Yeah, so all of that has to be done with before fetch. I don't know. I don't know if that's super clean, but that's all right. Not a big deal. All right, we went on a little bit of a journey and realized that this is not how it's done. We'll just use the create fetch in order to create a fetcher. By the way, create fetch basically allows you to create a version of use fetch. So it makes it just a little bit more reusable. This is going to make a little bit more sense in a second. So then we've got content type here. So let's add that in. And it's going to be application JSON. So that'll set our default options for us. We've got our token. I don't think we will need CORS though. Well, hang on, if this is fetch options, can't we just put it directly in there? Yeah, why can't I just put my headers in there? Oh, my phone's going off. I just realized the answer. It's because we want to be able to fetch this token every single time we do this fetch request to GraphQL. So that does actually make sense now that I think about it. All right, so we'll get rid of those fetch options. Let's see what else we're missing here. Another thing we want to have is the query itself. But what I'll do is I'll wrap this use GraphQL API. In fact, let's rename that. Create GraphQL API, something like that. Just drink my coffee. And then we'll abstract this one step further. So basically, we're going to set the settings that we can at this point, and then the settings that we can't set at this level, we'll do at another point. Yeah, so we'll create another one here. Let's create a new folder, I think, called GraphQL. Move that in there. And now we'll say use GraphQL. I think API is actually a redundant word here. So let's say export default. And then we can import here, create, excuse me, GraphQL. So let's just say GraphQL is equal to create. Okay, that's not coming through. What's going on here? Oh, because that's being renamed. Create GraphQL. So now that should work. Create. Oh man. Const GraphQL is equal to create. All right. Let's just try importing it. From. It's being exported correctly. Yeah, all right. Might just be one of those things where my ID hasn't updated. So that's going to create a version of GraphQL that we can then start using to do backend requests. And then we want to be able to accept the query here. So how about we say query like that, and then I'll say const query. Oh, but it's being received as a parameter there. We'll just make sure that it is in a ref. So query is equal to ref query, and that means that we can return it here. And what we can do is set that equal to nothing by default. So if you want, you don't actually need to pass the query through. You can just set it at a later point, which might be something you want to do because you might want to gradually build up that query and then send it through. So this allows us to do that. And now we want to be able to execute this. So we'll say execute. Man, this is really pulling up my brain strings. I've never done this with GraphQL before. I've done this a lot with REST, but this is going to be a bit different. The other thing it wants is an operation name. Now, do I accept that as a parameter? No, I don't think so. We definitely need to have a query, so I'm going to set that as a first parameter and then say operation name. Oh, I don't know, because there might be a lot of times where I don't want to send that through, so an options object probably does make more sense here. Yeah, let's use an options object. And we'll set query equal to an empty string by default. So we'll say options is equal to that, and then I can say here options.query. So another thing that we can accept is the operation name. That will just be a something that we can put through in the options. And then to execute, we can say GraphQL.execute. I like to re-export here and make a very, very minimal API surface and just add in the stuff I need as I go. This means I can really think through the API and make sure it looks exactly how I want it to look. And it also means that I can think about swappability. So if I want to swap this out with something else, which is very possible, I might want to change the way that it works under the hood. That's going to be more possible if I have more control over the API, as opposed to just spreading this like so. Okay. Anyway, we've got execute there. I like the word run better. Let's go with run. Okay, so operation name needs to get in there somehow. Can I say dot before? I guess I can just add it into the options. So we'll turn that into a watch effect. And these options are going to have to be wrapped in a ref then. So how about this? We just wrap the options in a ref and we say but then that query is also going to have to be wrapped in a ref. Can I do this? I don't actually know if I can. So that I can export it in the way I'd like to. So then I can then just say query is options.query like this. I wrap it one level deeper just in case it isn't refed. And if you wrap a ref in a ref, it basically unwraps it so it's still just one ref deep. Why am I getting red squigglies there? Oh, now I can say const query is equal to that. So now it's exposed. I mean, this is really pushing my brain. Now, we were doing watch effect because we wanted to do the operation name. So what we might do is say operation name is equal to null. And then I can say if operation name, then GraphQL dot can we set headers here? What is head? That doesn't sound right. I thought I saw something related to headers before. Oh, options dot. Use fetch return. What have we got here? Is fetching can abort. Well, let's have a look at what I did under the hood here, because create GraphQL. We had this before fetch, and that's how we did it. We can then pull out the options there. So let's do this. GraphQL dot. Can I say before fetch? No, I can't do it that way either. Shit, how do I do this? Surely they have an example where they show you how to set headers. All right, they just allowed you to send options through here with before fetch. So, all right, so that means that at this point, when I say create GraphQL, I want to have the ability to send those options through. Okay, so how about we do this? How about we allow the person doing this to send through their own options so they can be overwritten? It's going to return create fetch. If you want, you can add your own options in here, and that's going to get merged in. Yeah, so well, let's go ahead and use LowDash here. Yarn add LowDash -es so that I can easily destructure this, and I'm going to use merge from LowDash. Actually, is that what I want? Or maybe I can use the deep merge library. I don't know. Let's just try this. Let's see if we run into any issues. Merge from LowDash -es. So now I should be able to do this. Const, or we can say options is equal to merge, and we'll take the current options, and then we'll come in here and say default options, and do it like this. So now I've got default options. That gets merged into whatever options were passed through. And then, hang on, what's going on? Yeah, but this is kind of like object.assign. So I want the default options to be there so that, oh, not merge, what am I doing? The options that are passed overwrite the default options that are passed through. And then we can say create fetch and then just pass the options through like that. I think this is what I want. Now the problem is headers here. So maybe the problem is then before fetch is going to get overwritten. Okay, so this isn't going to work. All right, I think I might need to take a break in a second and think on this, because essentially what I want to do is I want to be able to have a foundation, but I also want to be able to set the headers for that foundation. And currently, before fetch would get overwritten if I send that through with the options, meaning that our authorization is no longer going to work. Unless, nah. What we could do is we could check if before fetch exists on, yeah, okay, okay, I think I got an idea of how I can do this. I can say const, let's just play around here, before fetch is equal to an array, and then let's put this inside of that array. This asynchronous function. What have I done wrong there? Oh man, I must be brain dead or something. I really don't see anything wrong with that. It's just a function sitting inside of an array. So let's see what would happen if I did this. Well, if I did it like, okay. I think it needs to be more async function before fetch, and then yeah, okay. All right, so we've got an array of what's going to happen before fetch, and then we can say if options dot before fetch is passed through there, then we say before fetch dot push before fetch like that. Yeah. And then we can say here const before fetch options. You know what? This is getting far too complicated though. I don't want to do this in a beginner series. So I think I'm going to just backtrack all of this and remove it. Crap. Yeah, I need to take a break and think about this. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching this stream. I'm going to think about this, and usually what happens is I lie down for a bit and then come up with a solution. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Yeah, I think making it a pipe executor, and thank you for commenting. I appreciate that. This is kind of what I was thinking about. Let's just make it an array and sort of run them one at a time. My only problem with this is I kind of want this to be a beginner series, and this is just feeling like a little bit overkill. And so I'm wondering, like, there's probably just a better way that I can solve this that's a little bit simpler to understand. Which is why I kind of want to stop and take a rest. First, though, I'm just going to scroll down here and just read a little bit, just in case there's something obvious in the API that I've missed. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I always disable that and then just call execute manually. Mm. I mean, honestly, we could just... The only thing that this is doing is setting the token and the headers. Yeah, that's in use fetch. So maybe my problem is the fact that I'm saying create fetch. Like maybe we could just turn this into a use fetch. And then just extend that use fetch at this level. Yeah, okay, how about this? Let's say use GraphQL base. Maybe something like that. And let's rename that to that. Yes, okay, I think I've got it in my head now. What's going to make a bit more sense? Then we can easily just merge those in. No, okay, this is still sitting on a... Yeah, all right, I need to take a rest. Do you save this video? Yeah, but this is just me preparing for another series that I'll be working on. So I'm working on a goal setting series at the moment, and this is just me playing around. They're not going to be very exciting videos, live streaming kind of work type stuff. And then eventually will build out this series, and that'll be a lot more professional. So that'll be kind of like my component videos for Quasar. And the idea is you can come in here and create goals. And this needs to be obviously cleaned up a little bit. So you can come in there and then create goals, and that's making it the goal on a Strapi backend. And I'm going to talk about how we do authentication. We've got an authentication page here as well, and a register page, and logging in and all that kind of stuff, which is actually all done for you with a package that I created. But yeah, that's mostly what this is going to be, what this series is about, building out this application. But I like that my problem that I'm facing here is I really want to make this dead simple so that people watching this are like, oh cool, that code is nice and clean. But I don't want to take people on these huge tangents, kind of like what I'm on here. All right, I'm talking too much. Thanks everyone for watching. I'm probably going to be back in about 20 minutes or so and have another crack at this.